"Who are you?" I said, my voice echoing in the still of the apartment, my boyfriend's apartment. My question directed to the stranger, standing right there with ease and familiarity. He tilted his head and looked at me, smiling without saying a word. I just stood there confused, staring at the man wearing my boyfriend's shirt. An hour earlier, I'd been packing up at work, half smiling because the system crash meant an early release. Everyone else grumbled, but all I could think was how rare it was to get an unexpected evening free. I hadn't planned on seeing Jake tonight. He said he'd be working late again, but the thought of surprising him, maybe cooking something together, it felt good. So I picked up groceries, rehearsed the smile I'd give him when he opened the door. "See? You're not the only one who can plan a surprise," and let myself in. Except now there is a barefoot man in Jake's apartment, wearing his shirt. Not just any shirt, but the crisp white one Jake wore for interviews and dinners, the one I ironed carefully because he hated wrinkles. It draped loose on this man's frame, sleeves rolled halfway up strong forearms, collar open like it belonged to him. He wasn't startled. He didn't even flinch when I stepped into the doorway, bag of groceries clutched to my chest like a shield. Instead, he looked at me with an ease of familiarity and smiled, the kind of smile that said he knew something I didn't. "Hi, Julian." The sound of my name in his mouth made my skin prickle. Wait, he knows my name? I swallowed hard. "You didn't answer my question. Who the hell are you, and why are you in my boyfriend's apartment wearing his shirt?" The man, tall, dark-haired, a kind of messy elegance in the way he leaned against the counter, lifted a mug of coffee and took a slow sip, as if this conversation were happening on his terms. "I'm Lucas," he said simply, like that was explanation enough. "Lucas," I repeated, testing it, trying to fit it into any story I knew of Jake's. Nothing clicked. My grip tightened on the grocery bag. "I don't care what your name is. You need to leave. Now." Lucas tilted his head, amused. "Why? I live here just as much as you do." My stomach dropped, heat rising in my face. "That's insane." "Is it?" His tone stayed maddeningly calm, almost playful. "Jake's with me now." "Excuse me?" My voice cracked, and I hated it. Lucas smiled faintly, though nothing about it was kind. I said, "Jake's with me. I am his boyfriend." He gestured casually toward the cup. "Coffee? With you? That's a lie. Jake is my boyfriend." Lucas sipped his coffee slowly. He told me you were sweet, a little naive. He wasn't wrong." My pulse jumped. "You don't know anything about me." "Don't I?" His eyes flicked around the apartment, taking everything in. The books on the shelf, the folded blanket on the couch, the framed photos on the wall, then back to me. "I know enough. I know you take your coffee black, but add sugar only when Jake does, just to keep pace with him. I know you always leave your shoes by the mat, but you never tell him when he tracks mud past it. I know you've been together, what, 6, 7 months? And you've been waiting for him to love you the way you love him." Every word landed sharp. I swallowed hard, stepping towards the kitchen counter to drop the paper bags in my arms, all the while keeping my eyes on Lucas. "How do you?" He cut me off gently, almost kindly. "He tells me things. The kind of things he doesn't tell you." That stopped me cold. My breath stuttered in my chest. He leaned back against the counter, cradling his cup like we were old friends catching up, and then he added, "Sit down, Julian. It'll be easier if you do." I stared at him, my pulse thundering, and every part of me screaming that this was insane. That I should throw him out, call Jake, and call the police. But Lucas didn't move. He just waited, calm, steady, unsettlingly sure of himself. And the longer I looked at him, barefoot, at ease, wearing Jake's shirt like it was second nature, the harder it became to tell myself he didn't belong there and he wasn't planning on leaving. He'd been waiting for me. Hey Daydreamers, thanks for tuning in. If you are liking this story so far, tell us where you are listening from in the comments section and hit the subscribe and notification buttons so you don't miss any story uploads. Let's continue. The apartment felt smaller with him in it. Lucas had claimed the couch like it was his throne, one arm draped along the backrest, ankles crossed, Jake's shirt gaping open just enough to show skin. I had no business noticing. He left the second cup of coffee untouched on the table in front of me, steam curling lazily into the air. I hadn't sat down at first, but standing over him only made me feel like the intruder. So now I perched on the armchair across from him, every muscle coiled, refusing to touch the coffee. He, on the other hand, was perfectly relaxed. He raised a brow, lazy. "Weren't you supposed to be working late?" I froze. How the hell would he know that? "I came home early," I said quickly, voice stiff. I guess you wanted to surprise him." He stirred the coffee in his hand, clink of spoon against porcelain. "That explains why he didn't ask me to leave." "Asked him to leave?" The phrasing made my scalp prickle. I gripped the arm of the chair like it could anchor me. I couldn't speak as I was trying to process what I was hearing. So Jake was cheating on me with him? Is this some kind of sick joke? This doesn't make sense at all. Lucas leaned forward slightly, cradling his cup. "You look tired. Long day? Cut the small talk." My voice cracked sharper than I intended. "Why are you here?" His gaze held mine, steady, unwavering. "Because Jake's mine." The audacity of it made me laugh, but it was hollow, brittle around the edges. "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" He tilted his head, studying me with clinical ease. "Think back. When's the last time you two actually spent a whole weekend together? No work interruptions, no excuses. I hated how quickly my mind offered an answer. Last winter, snow outside, Chinese takeout on the coffee table. Months ago. I didn't reply. Lucas smiled faintly like he'd won a point in some private game. Exactly. I dug my nails into my palm. You're just some stranger trying to wedge yourself between us. I don't know who you think you are, but... Stranger, he cut in smoothly. Come on, Julian, look at me. Do I look like a stranger to you? I forced myself to meet his eyes, and it was a mistake. They were steady, pale hazel that caught the lamplight like green glass. There was no heat in them, only an unsettling patience like he could wait me out forever. I grabbed my phone, pressing Jake's number again. Straight to voicemail, my chest squeezed. Lucas sipped his coffee unbothered. He won't answer. He hates being cornered. You don't know that, I snapped. Of course I do. Last month, after our fight about the trip, he ignored me for 2 days. Wouldn't pick up until I stopped pushing. He said it so casually, like mentioning a shared grocery list. The words froze me. Trip. He leaned back, stretching out along the couch like a cat. Chicago. He promised me a weekend away. Booked the tickets, even. But then he backed out at the last second. Too much work, baby. You know how it is. Sound familiar? My skin prickled. Jake had canceled on me that same weekend, except the excuse had been a cousin's wedding, not work. I swallowed hard. You're lying. Am I? His voice was gentle, not defensive, which somehow made it worse. Or did he just give us different excuses? Easier that way, don't you think? I wanted to scream, to throw him out, to shatter the calm confidence radiating from him, but my hands just trembled in my lap. You're trying to mess with me. Lucas tilted his head, lips twitching. Mess with you? No, I'm trying to show you. His gaze flicked toward the untouched coffee. But if you'd rather sit there doubting yourself, well, that's your choice. I adjusted and sat on the couch opposite him, still stunned and trying to wrap my head around what is going on. Lucas sipped his coffee and set it down when he noticed me glaring at him. If it makes you feel better, I'm not here to fight. I'm just waiting. Same as you. His eyes flicked toward me. Jake will be home soon. We'll let him decide. A laugh clawed up my throat, brittle. Decide what? Between us? He tilted his head. Exactly. You're insane. Am I? Or am I the one being honest? I sat there without saying a word, all sort of feelings watching through me. Sitting across from me was a man, too gorgeous for his own good and talking to me with a kind of relaxed confidence I will kill to have, claiming my boyfriend is his, and I am sitting there like a fool watching his whole world literally crumbling down. Was Jake actually cheating? Were they in a relationship, or was this a one-night stand that stayed? You're staring, Lucas said finally, lips quirking. I'm waiting, I shot back. For him or for me to explain myself? His gaze flicked over me, slow, deliberate, the kind of look that made me want to fold into myself and, at the same time, straighten my spine. I clenched my fists in my lap. Explain, Lucas hummed, tilting his head. All right, let's start simple. He takes his coffee with 2 sugars, no milk. Always pretends he doesn't though, says he likes it black. You probably believed him. My mouth went dry. That doesn't prove anything. Maybe not, but you noticed the socks, didn't you? He lifted one bare foot, flexing his toes. He hates when people wear socks inside, complains about it endlessly. You didn't know that? I blinked, momentarily thrown. Of course I knew that. Jake always insisted I take mine off the moment I walked in. But the way Lucas said it, so casual, so certain, made it sound like he'd lived through the same small lecture 100 times. I forced a laugh that sounded brittle. Anyone could know that if they spent a night here. True. His smile deepened, infuriatingly calm. But I'm not just anyone. The clock ticked on the wall, each second stretching. My phone sat on the armrest beside me, taunting. I'd already called Jake twice. Both went straight to voicemail. I needed him to come home and clarify whatever lies the stranger is spilling. Jake loves me. He said it himself. I'd rather hear the truth from him than believe whatever comes from the mouth of this stranger. Why are you doing this? I asked, voice lower now, the edge of exhaustion seeping in. Lucas leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. His eyes caught the dim lamplight, sharp and unyielding. Because you deserve to know, and because, his lips curved again, he's been lying to both of us. The difference is I don't mind. My pulse jumped. You're lying. Am I? He tilted his head. Or are you just not ready to admit you've been played? He let the silence hang before adding, softer, tell me, Julian, when was the last time he looked at you like he wanted to be there? I opened my mouth and then closed it. The words tangled, because I could remember, but they were from the first 2 months we started dating. One of the few nights we ordered pizza, watched some trashy action movie, and fell asleep on the couch. Lately it was work, exhaustion, and excuses. Lucas must have seen the hesitation flicker across my face because he leaned back again, satisfied. I thought so. Heat crawled up my neck. You don't get to waltz in here and decide what my relationship looks like. You don't know us. He laughed softly, the sound unsettling in its gentleness. Don't I? He told me you were naive, sweet, the kind who believes what he's told, even when it doesn't add up. I guess he is right. The words stung more than I wanted them to. You're making this up. Am I? He repeated, savoring the phrase like it was his favorite game. He stretched out, shirt riding up slightly as he adjusted. The move was casual, almost careless, but my eyes betrayed me, flicking down before I could stop them. My eyes caught a bit of his pale skin underneath and a tattoo of a butterfly just below waist. I shifted my eyes immediately after catching that. "You're uncomfortable," Lucas murmured. "Of course I'm uncomfortable," I snapped, voice too sharp. "There's a stranger in my apartment pretending to know my boyfriend." He smiled again, softer this time, almost pitying. "Stranger? Maybe. But look at us now. Sitting here, waiting, sharing the same silence. Doesn't feel so strange anymore, does it?" I wanted to argue. I wanted to throw him out, scream, break something. But instead I sat there, hands clenched, listening to the hum of the fridge, the faint drip of rain against the window. And for the first time since walking in, I wondered, if Jake did walk through that door right now, what would he see? Me, tense and unraveling. Lucas, calm and certain. I wasn't sure who looked more like they belonged here. We stayed like that in silence for some few minutes, with the silence between us thickened, humming like static. The rain outside smeared against the windows, wind rattling faintly, but it was nothing compared to the pressure building inside the room. I tried calling Jake again. Straight to voicemail. Lucas leaned back, stretching like a cat. He never answers when he's busy. "Busy with what?" I sapped. Lucas's smirk was surgical. "That depends on which of us is asking." My mind spun. Was this a test? A setup Jake had planned? Some cruel way to measure my loyalty? Or had Jake lied so well, loved me so carefully, that I'd never seen what was happening under my nose? No. Impossible. But hadn't I been ignoring the little things? Cancelled plans, late nights, stories that never quite lined up. "You're lying," I said again, weaker this time. Lucas leaned in, so close his breath brushed my cheek. "If I'm lying, then why won't he pick up your calls?" The phone in my hand felt like dead weight. For a moment, shame washed over me, so hot it was dizzying. Shame for even entertaining this. Shame for the part of me that wanted to scream at Jake, demand answers, tear everything apart just to see what was left underneath. Shame for the tiny, treacherous spark that noticed how close Lucas was, how his voice slipped under my skin like smoke, how the scent of coffee and Jake's cologne clung to him like he'd been here 100 times before. I hated myself for noticing. I stared at the phone screen long after the call rang itself into silence. No answer, no text back. Just the little reminder of how many times I'd already tried. My thumb hovered over redial like it had a will of its own. "See?" Lucas's voice broke through the quiet, smooth, as if he'd been waiting for that silence to settle. "He's not picking up. He's probably busy," I snapped too quickly. The sound of my own defensiveness scraped at me. Lucas leaned back on the couch like it was his own, the fabric stretching beneath him, his bare feet tucked comfortably under the coffee table. Jake's shirt rode up as he shifted, revealing a line of skin, a sharp dip at his hip. He caught me looking, or maybe he wanted me to, because the faintest grin ghosted across his mouth. "You keep telling yourself that," he said, lazy and deliberate. "You're cute when you're in denial. Naive. That's what he calls you, you know? Too naive to notice anything." My stomach dropped. Heat crawled up my neck. "He doesn't say things like that," I muttered. "Oh, he does." Lucas's tone carried the casual certainty of someone describing the weather. "He said you blush too easily. You let things slide. That's what makes you safe." He leaned forward, eyes glinting as though he'd just dropped a secret in my lap. And boring. I forced a laugh, but it cracked halfway out of me. "If you're trying to get under my skin, you're going to have to try harder." Lucas tilted his head, studying me the way a cat studies a bird behind glass. "You think this is about me trying? Julian." He rolled my name in his mouth like it was something intimate. "I'm just telling you what he says. What he tells me after he leaves here, after he leaves you." My hand tightened on the phone until the case dug into my palm. What if he's lying? But then, what if he wasn't? Jake had been distant lately. Long hours, late nights, always work emergencies. I brushed it all aside because Jake had a way of making me feel guilty for even asking. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, though the question came out weak. "Because I wanted you to know." Lucas leaned in, close enough that I could feel the faint heat of him. His voice dropped, soft but sharp. "I didn't want you wasting years thinking you're the only one he tells I love you to before rolling out of bed." "Shut up." The words came out thin, trembling. "Do you want me to stop?" Lucas whispered, lips nearly brushing my ear now. "Because I can. Or I can tell you more. Like how good he is with his tongue. You'd know, wouldn't you? Except," he chuckled, a low, cruel sound. "He told me you're too shy to really let go. That's why he comes to me." My whole body went hot, shame flooding so fast I wanted to crawl out of my own skin. The worst part was that I didn't know if he was making it up. Jake had never said I was shy, but he hadn't said I wasn't either. Lucas pulled back just far enough to look me in the eye. His grin widened, not cruel now, but something worse, indulgent. "You're blushing," just like he said. My throat worked around a dozen comebacks, but none of them made it past my lips. He reached out, slow, almost tender, and brushed his fingertips against my wrist. The contact jolted through me like static. "You know what I think?" His eyes burned into mine. "I think you're not boring at all. I like my men cute, naive, easy to read. Makes it more fun." His hand lingered before falling away. "But Jake, he doesn't appreciate that, does he?" I wanted to tell him he was wrong, that Jake loved me, that I knew where I stood, but the words curdled in my mouth. The last few months had been nothing but distance, excuses, canceled plans. If Lucas was lying, he was very good at it. Too good. You're sick, I said finally, though my voice cracked. This is some twisted game you're playing. Lucas only smiled, slow and satisfied. Maybe. Or maybe you're just starting to realize you don't know him as well as you thought. He leaned back again, folding his arms behind his head like the king of a throne. The question is, when he walks through that door, will he look at you first, or at me? I shot up from the chair, pacing, anything to put distance between us. My chest heaved. My head screamed that he was lying, but underneath the noise something poisonous whispered. What if he's not? What if Jake really did say those things? I gripped the counter until my knuckles whitened. Lucas watched me with unnerving calm. He stood now, smooth and unhurried, crossing the room toward me. My back pressed into the counter automatically, retreating without realizing it. He stopped only a breath away, close enough for me to see the faint scar by his lip, the veins under his skin, the way Jake's shirt hung loose over his collarbones. You're scared, he said quietly. Scared that I'm right? I glared, but my pulse betrayed me, hammering against my throat. Lucas's smile softened, almost pitying. I don't blame you. He's good at hiding things. Good at getting just enough so you won't notice what's missing. I gripped my phone tighter, nails biting into my skin, because for the first time since walking in, I didn't know the answer. Lucas swirled his coffee lazily, as if the weight of my stare didn't matter. Then, like he was tossing a pebble into water just to watch the ripples, he said, So, he told me you two met at a gallery opening, right? Some charity thing? I frowned. No. Coffee shop. He tilted his head, all polite confusion. Huh, funny. He had this whole story about how you were standing near a painting of a sunflower and he thought you looked brighter than the art. Lucas chuckled. Guess he saves the better lines for me. The words stung. Without thinking, I blurted, It was coffee. He spilled his drink, scribbled his number on a napkin. That's how it happened. The second the words left my mouth, I realized what I'd done. I'd given him ammunition. His smirk said he knew it too. Cute, he murmured, sipping, always so eager to correct me. I crossed my arms, but my mind was buzzing. He was twisting things, but some of it could be true. Lucas set his mug down with a soft clink. What about that hotel he took you to after his so-called late night at work? The Hilton? Or was that just our little getaway spot? My heart skipped. What? He tapped his lip, pretending to think. Yeah, Hilton. Room 4227. Beautiful view of the river. He said it was perfect for clearing his head. His smile widened. You don't clear your head at a hotel, Julian. You clear the bed. I wanted to call him a liar, but Jake had stayed late at the office that week. He'd texted me a photo of his laptop on a desk. I believed it without question. Now my stomach twisted. You're just making this up, I said, but it came out weak. Am I? Lucas leaned forward, his eyes sharp. Think about it. Did he ever introduce you to his coworkers? His parents? Oh, right. He said you're too sensitive for all that pressure. He gave a soft, pitying laugh. Did you ever stop to wonder if you're the side piece, Julian? The words landed like a slap. My chest burned with shame, with anger. No, Jake loved me. He said he did. He showed it. Flowers, dates, quiet mornings together. But then again, we'd been together almost 7 months and I hadn't met his family. He brushed off office parties with excuses about stress. I dug my nails into my palms. Lucas noticed. He shifted closer, brushing past me deliberately, the fabric of Jake's shirt grazing my arm. I pulled back, but not far enough. You're shaking, he whispered, almost tender. Don't worry, happens the first time you realize you've been lied to. He sat in Jake's chair, sprawling into it like a throne, watching me unravel, a smirk forming in his lips as if my discomfort brings him pleasure. God, whoever this stranger turns out to be. I hate him. I hate him. He is horrible and condescending and mean, and I hate especially how he is speaking with certainty that my boyfriend belongs to him. Maybe this was all a setup. Maybe Jake sent him here, some sick loyalty test. The thought blurted out of me before I could stop it. Did he send you? Is this some kind of test? Lucas only smiled, slow and dangerous. Maybe he did. Maybe I'm here to see what you'll do. The floor felt unsteady beneath me, and then, like twisting the knife, he added, You're cuter when you're angry. His eyes flicked down me and back up, deliberate, unhurried. If I wanted you, I'd already have you, but I'm a patient man. My face flushed hot. I hated him. Hated how calm he was, how easily he shifted the ground beneath my feet. And it doesn't help when every sentence that came out of his mouth makes me rethink my entire relationship. What if I'd been the side piece all along, clinging to scraps of affection while the real intimacy belonged to someone else? In my head, I saw Jake smile the first time he pulled me close, remembered how safe I'd felt. Then I saw Jake with Lucas, whispering the same lines, laughing the same way. I saw him pressed against Lucas in the very shirt he was wearing now. And just like that, the doubt roared louder than the memories. The rattle of keys at the door made my whole body seize. For a moment, I forgot how to breathe. Lucas didn't move. He didn't even blink. He just sat there in Jake's chair, his legs stretched out and fingers tracing lazy circles on the rim of the mug that wasn't his. The ghost of a smile tugged at his lips, as if he'd been waiting for the sound all night. Then the door swung open. Jake stepped inside, shoulders hunched from the weather, hair damp from drizzle. He kicked his shoes off with the same careless rhythm I'd seen 100 times, dropped his bag by the side table. He was halfway through tugging off his coat when he looked up and froze. His eyes flicked from me, rigid by the sofa, mug trembling in my hands, to Lucas, lounging in his shirt like he owned it. What? The word snagged in his throat, sharp as broken glass. What the hell is this? I surged forward, the dam bursting. That's what I'd like to know, Jake. Who is he? Why is he in your shirt, in your apartment? Lucas lifted his mug in a mock toast, calm as a man on holiday. Evening, babe. This coffee brand tastes better, by the way. You should stick to this one. I like it better? Jake's face tightened, but he didn't answer. Instead, his eyes pinned me. Julian, you're not supposed to be here today. Were you, checking up on me? The air left my lungs. Checking? Are you serious right now? You walk in to find a stranger in your clothes and you're asking if I'm spying on you? His mouth curved, not into a smile but a cold baring of teeth. You don't trust me. That's the problem. You've never trusted me, always jumping to conclusions. I'm jumping too? My voice cracked. Lucas chuckled softly, and it was like pouring gasoline on open flames. He's good, isn't he? He murmured, eyes glinting. Doesn't answer a thing, just flips it right back on you. Classic. Shut up, Jake snapped, sharp enough to cut. Shut up, I echoed at the same time, the word bursting out of me like a scream I hadn't meant to let loose. For a second, the apartment went deadly still. Three of us suspended in a triangle of hate and disbelief. Then Jake took a step closer to me, lowering his voice into something measured, intimate. Dangerous. Julian, look at me. He's lying. He's trying to mess with your head. Can't you see that? You're too naive sometimes. Naive. The same word Lucas had used earlier. It slammed into me like a punch. My throat went dry. Then explain. Who on earth is he? And why does he know things about us, about me? Lucas smirked, sipping slowly. Because he told me, of course. Jake's gaze darkened, a flare of warning. You shut your mouth. But Lucas only leaned back further, spreading out in Jake's chair like a king dismissing his court. Oh, I don't think so. He deserves to know, don't you think? Or maybe you like keeping your worlds separate. Julian, listen to me. Jake cut in, his voice sharper now, desperate edges showing. This guy is obsessed with me. He's been hanging around, making things up, and twisting the truth to wedge himself in. You're letting him win by even entertaining this. I stared at him, words knotted in my chest. His voice was smooth, familiar. I wanted so badly to believe him. But the longer I looked at his face, the more cracks I saw, his eyes sliding away from mine, his jaw too tight, his fists clenched against the strap of his bag. Lucas's voice slipped into the silence like a blade. If that's true, Jake, then why didn't you throw me out the moment you saw me here? Jake whipped around, fury flashing. Don't talk like you belong here. You don't. But I do. Come on, babe, don't break my heart. Lucas's tone was soft, almost affectionate, which made it all the more unbearable. You and I both know I do, and so does he. He tipped his head at me. I shook mine, trying to clear it, but the walls felt like they were leaning in. My pulse hammered so hard I could hear it in my ears. Jake's hand dragged through his hair. I can't do this right now. I won't stand here and be accused in my own home. His voice rose, sharp, defensive. I need air. And just like that, he grabbed his coat again, turned for the door. Jake. My hand shot out, but he didn't stop. The door slammed behind him. The silence that followed was a hollow roar in my head. Then Lucas set his mug down with the neatest, softest click. See? He murmured. His smile was thin, victorious. He can't even defend himself properly. The slam of the door rattled through me long after Jake was gone. I stood there staring at the empty frame like if I willed hard enough, he'd walk back through and say it was all a misunderstanding. That he loved me. That I wasn't crazy. But he didn't come back. The silence swallowed everything. Only my own uneven breathing filled the apartment, jagged and humiliating. I sank into the sofa like my bones had given up, the coffee mug still warm in my hands, though I couldn't taste it anymore. I thought about the first time I'd met Jake, how easy his smile had been, how quickly I fell into orbit around him, how proud I'd been to stand next to him, like maybe I was finally enough for someone worth admiring. 7 months of convincing myself the distance was just stress, work, exhaustion, never betrayal. God, I'd been so blind. A sob clawed out of me before I could swallow it down. My chest shook, hot and pathetic, and I pressed the heel of my hand to my face like I could shove the tears back in. I kept asking myself the same question over and over. What's wrong with me? Every relationship before Jake had ended the same way. Me too much, me not enough, me being left for someone shinier, easier, louder. I'd always told myself Jake was different, that he chose me because I was steady, that stability was finally enough. But maybe I was the problem. Maybe there was something broken in me that made people restless, hungry for more. I dragged in a shaking breath, forcing myself to picture Jake not as the man who kissed my forehead goodnight, but as the man I just saw storm out rather than explain himself. And suddenly, patterns started to appear. The late nights, the phone he kept face down, the vague stories about coworkers I never met, the way he always managed to make me feel guilty for needing reassurance. It wasn't just tonight, it had been building. And I'd been too stupid, too desperate to believe in us to see it. My throat burned. From the kitchen came the sound of cupboards opening, grocery bags rustling. I blinked through tears. Lucas, he was humming softly, like he was unpacking his own place, not someone else's kitchen. You've got to be kidding me, I snapped hoarsely, dragging myself upright. He cheated on you too. Why are you not? I don't know, devastated, furious. Lucas's back was to me, shoulders loose, posture maddeningly casual. He pulled something from the bag I brought, pickles of all things, and twisted the lid open with a pop. He fished one out and bit into it, crunch echoing. I already knew, he said simply, chewing. Found out months ago, and you are not the only one he is cheating on me with. My stomach lurched. What? I coaxed it out of him. Jake's not as subtle as he thinks. He shrugged, licking brine from his thumb. Made my peace with it. What can I say? The sex was too good to pass on, so I stayed. My jaw went slack. He said it with such careless acceptance, like betrayal was just another quirk, not a wound. You're twisted, I spat, voice trembling. Lucas turned then, leaning his hip against the counter, pickle between his fingers like a cigarette. His eyes glinted, amused, dangerous. Well, aren't we all? You're not exactly a model of sanity yourself, Julian. You built this little shrine to Jake, bought into your own fantasy, excused every late night and vague answer. Come on, he's not smart enough to play the field. You were just too naive and blind to see it. The word detonated inside me. My fists clenched. Stop calling me that. Lucas tilted his head, a slow smile curving. I told you not to get angry. It's cute. And honestly, his gaze dragged down me, unashamed. You're turning me on. The heat crawled up my neck before I could stop it. I shoved back, glaring. You're disgusting. And you're blushing, he murmured, settling back with that same infuriating smirk. Heat rushed to my face, anger, humiliation, something I refused to name. God, you're so weird, I muttered, scrunching my nose like a shield. He laughed softly, low in his throat. Takes one to know one. Then, as if nothing had been said, he pushed the pickle jar toward the cutting board and pulled out a bundle of vegetables from the bag. If you're done weeping, come help me chop these. Might as well have dinner. He glanced at the door, unconcerned. I doubt he'll come back tonight. For a moment, I just stared at him. This stranger, who wasn't breaking apart like I was, who treated betrayal like a puzzle instead of a wound, who sat there eating pickles in my wreck of a life as if it were nothing. His calm, his irreverence, his complete refusal to crumble, it was the only thing keeping me from collapsing completely. And maybe that was why I moved. Why I found myself joining him at the counter, knife in hand, even though my chest still ached and my eyes were raw. The knife felt heavier than it should have. My hands were clumsy, trembling, the vegetables slipping under the blade as if even they wanted to run away from me. Lucas, of course, moved like he owned the kitchen. He had the cutting board angled just so, his strokes quick and clean. I wanted to resent how comfortable he looked, but there was something hypnotic about the rhythm. The slice, scrape, clatter of blade against wood. Stop chopping the onions like someone being punished, he remarked casually, glancing at my uneven pile of onions. Maybe I am, I muttered, blinking through the sting in my eyes that wasn't entirely from the onions. Lucas smirked. Self-flagellation with knife work. Romantic. Very Catholic. I let out a sharp, unwilling laugh that made my throat ache. He noticed. I could tell by the way his eyes softened for just a fraction before he went back to slicing. What are we even making? I asked, just to fill the air. Stir fry. Simple, comfort food. He lifted a pepper strip between his fingers like it was a cigarette. Don't worry, even the most naive cooks can manage not to burn it. I shot him a glare. Stop saying that word. He tilted his head, deliberately thoughtful. Naive? Cute? Which one bothers you more? You're impossible. That's correct, he said, tossing the pepper into the pan with a flourish. The sizzle filled the silence, a sound both grounding and surreal. For a few minutes we just worked, side by side. The normalcy of it hurt more than the fight had. My boyfriend was out there, God knows where, God knows with whom, and here I was, cooking with the man wearing his shirt. The shirt I used to steal when Jake was gone late at night because it smelled like him. I caught myself staring at Lucas's back, broad, relaxed, as though betrayal didn't live in his body the way it tore mine apart. How do you do that? I asked before I could stop myself. Do what? Act like none of this matters, like you're not hurt. He gave the pan a shake, the vegetables sliding around with a hiss. Oh, I am hurt, just not surprised. Big difference. He turned, a pepper slice between his teeth. When you expect people to disappoint you, it stings less when they do. That's bleak. That's experience. He shrugged, chewing slowly. Besides, I told you, I stayed because the sex was good. Sometimes that's enough. I looked away, bile rising. Now that's shallow. Honest, he corrected. Then his eyes flicked over me, deliberate, slow. And you, Julian, are the opposite. You keep dressing up lies in romance, pretending every crack is a starry sky. No wonder Jake lasted this long with you. He probably enjoyed the worship. The knife stilled in my hand. My chest tightened. That's not fair. No, Lucas said quietly, but it's true. The words landed harder than I wanted to admit, because deep down I knew he wasn't wrong. I slammed the knife down a little too hard, the sound sharp. You're really good at tearing people apart, you know that? His lips twitched. And you're really good at handing people the tools to do it. I wanted to scream at him. Instead, I chopped harder, letting the rhythm take the place of words. The stir-fry was starting to smell good. Garlic, soy, that familiar comfort Jake used to make on late nights when he wanted to play domestic boyfriend. My stomach nodded. Lucas noticed. You're hungry, he said, not asking. Eat. Grieving's better on a full stomach. I gave a bitter laugh. This isn't grieving. He's not dead. Doesn't have to be. Lucas handed me a chopstick like it was a cigarette. Taste. I hesitated. His eyes gleamed, amused at my reluctance, daring me. So I did. The pepper was warm, salty sweet, and it tasted good. He is a good cook, but there's no way I was going to admit that. See? He said, watching my face. Not everything tonight has to taste bitter. I hated that he could still make me laugh, hated that the absurdity of sharing food with him took the edge off my pain. You're weird, I muttered again, softer this time. Lucas's grin deepened, sharp but not cruel. And you're still here. Silence fell. Heavy, suffocating, but not entirely unbearable. In the ruins of my relationship, in the middle of betrayal, Lucas was the one keeping me upright. That his unshaken calm, his twisted humor, was the only thing keeping me from falling apart completely. After 5 minutes of silence, he smirked. You chew loud when you're nervous. I set my fork down a little too hard. You're enjoying this? Dinner with my boyfriend's boyfriend? He tilted his head. Enjoying isn't the word. I wanted to scream at him, but the exhaustion pinned me down. Instead, I went back to my food, jaw tight, pretending he hadn't gotten under my skin. We went quiet again until I broke first. Why are you like this? Like what? So unbothered. So I searched for the word. Untouched. Lucas leaned back, the chair creaking. Do I look untouched to you? Yes, I snapped. Like none of this hurts you. Like he didn't cheat on you too. For the first time, his eyes flickered. Something sharp underneath the calm. He set his chopsticks down, slow, deliberate. He did, he said softly. Of course he did. But I stopped expecting people to stay faithful a long time ago. That disarmed me more than if he'd shouted. I swallowed. So you just accept it? I accepted reality, Lucas replied. I knew he wasn't perfect. I just didn't care. He gave me what I wanted, and I gave him what he wanted. Until you came along. My chest tightened. So what, I ruined your perfect arrangement? Lucas leaned forward, elbows on the table. His voice dropped lower. It wasn't perfect, just easier than being alone. The honesty of it hit harder than the insults. I looked away, staring at the stir-fry I couldn't finish. You sound like someone who doesn't believe in love. He laughed once, sharp, bitter. Love's just a prettier word for desperation. Don't act like you don't know it. You've been clinging to Jake's scraps for months. I should have yelled at him. Instead, my throat went dry. Because he was right. The silence stretched, heavy, until Lucas reached for the bottle of wine he'd pulled from my counter. He poured 2 glasses, sliding one toward me. Drink, he said. I hesitated, then drank. The warmth loosened something in my chest, enough that I heard myself asking, have you ever been in love? I mean, really in love? Lucas tilted his head, considering. Once. He left. They always do. Something cracked in his expression then. A shadow of hurt quickly masked, but not fast enough. And Jake? I pressed. I needed to know if I had unknowingly intruded on the love story of 2 people. His mouth twisted into a smirk, but his eyes didn't match it. Jake was fun, distracting, great with his mouth, but love? No. Not really. It was the first time he sounded uncertain and vulnerable. When the plates were finally empty, Lucas stretched like he owned the place, then dropped onto the couch. Movie? I blinked. You're joking, I'm not sitting here and playing house with you. You already are. He leaned back, stretching out. Might as well pick a movie. He scrolled through the streaming menu with Jake's remote, lazy and unhurried, until he landed on a familiar cover. My stomach twisted. Jake's favorite. Lucas noticed me stiffen, and a thin smile cut across his face. Oh, this one's our thing. Comfort movie. We always end up here after a fight. The words hit me like a slap. Our thing. Something sharp twisted in me. How many times have you 2 watched this? Enough. His eyes slid toward me. It's our ritual. I dropped the remote like it burned. Ritual? My voice broke on the word. He didn't flinch. He likes his patterns. Don't tell me you haven't noticed. I wanted to argue, to spit back something cutting, but the truth pressed heavy against my chest. Jake did like his patterns, his favorite takeout spot, his Saturday gym routine, his excuses. You. My throat closed up. How long? Lucas leaned back against the couch, arms spread like a cat stretching in the sun. He didn't even hesitate. 2 years. 2 years. My hands went cold. Jake and I had been together for 7 months. 7. I had thought we were still in the shiny new phase, still learning each other's habits, still fumbling through the sweetness of beginnings. But Lucas had been here the whole time, before me, during me. I sat down across from him, my voice thin. So what am I then? A hobby? A placeholder? Lucas poured himself another drink, then mine without asking, sliding the glass across the table. Don't look at me like I'm the villain. I never promised you anything, he sipped. Jake did. The liquor burned on the way down, but I didn't stop. My chest was already on fire anyway. Lucas leaned his head against the couch cushion, voice low now, almost thoughtful. You know, I used to think he loved me, at least for a while. He had this way of looking at me, like I was necessary. But then he'd disappear. Excuses. Work. Late nights. Sometimes I wouldn't hear from him for a week. Something in his voice cracked, but just for a second before it sharpened again. So I stopped asking questions, stopped pretending I mattered more than the sex, because damn, the sex was good, and convenience is underrated. I stared at him, searching his face for sincerity. He looked relaxed, almost bored, but his knuckles were white where they gripped his glass. So that's it? My laugh came out bitter. That's all he is to you? A convenient lay? He smirked without humor. And to you what? Prince Charming? The movie started playing on its own, as if mocking me. I sank onto the far edge of the couch. And maybe it was the alcohol, or the night, or the way his words mirrored the hollow in my chest, but suddenly I wasn't thinking about Jake anymore. I was thinking about the man beside me, his shoulder brushing mine, his hand resting too close. You ever wonder, I heard myself ask, if maybe it wasn't him? If maybe we're just not enough? Lucas' eyes flicked to mine, his whole body turning to face me. For the first time, his smirk faltered. His voice came softer than I'd ever heard it. Every day. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It thrummed, electric, heavy. I don't know who moved first. His hand brushed mine, my breath hitched, and then his mouth was on mine, kissing me. Hurried and hungry, furious, like we were both trying to prove something. I kissed him back. God help me, I kissed him back, clutching at his shirt like I could tear the lies out of both of us. His teeth scraped my lip, my hands tangled in his hair, and when we broke apart, we were both shaking. Lucas's eyes were glassy, his chest rising fast. He pressed his forehead to mine, his voice raw. See? You're no different than me. Before I could answer, he pulled away, stood up and tugged Jake's clothes off him, and then grabbed his own shirt and jacket and left. The door slammed, and I sat there, the movie flickering on in the silence, tasting him on my mouth. At that moment, I didn't know who I hated more, Jake, Lucas, or myself. I sat slumped on the couch, still tasting the sour bite of whiskey and regret on my tongue. The half-empty bottle sat like an accusation on the coffee table. The movie menu flickered on the TV screen, frozen, casting pale light over the room. My jacket was draped across my lap like a blanket. I should be leaving. Instead, I stayed. I stayed because I needed to look at this place one more time, memorize what I had let myself believe was ours, and also pick up the last pieces of myself that I had scattered in his apartment. So I started gathering my things. Not everything. Not the throw blanket we bought together, not the framed photo of us he'd insisted on putting on the shelf, just mine. The things that had no trace of him. The spare hoodie I kept for late nights here, the toothbrush in the cup by the sink, the notebook I'd left on the desk, my old worn sneakers by the door. A half-read book on the nightstand upstairs. It wasn't much. 7 months, and I could fit our so-called relationship into a single tote bag. That was the part that gutted me most. I sat back on the couch, bag at my feet, head pounding. Somewhere between guilt, anger, and heartbreak, I drifted off. The next morning, the sound of the key in the lock woke me. My mouth was dry, my head foggy, and for a moment I almost smiled, like muscle memory, like relief that he was finally home. Then I remembered everything. The door swung open and Jake stepped inside. Same pressed shirt, same careful hair, same expression that once felt like safety. He froze when he saw me. You're still here? I sat up slowly, rubbing my face. My voice came rough. You wanted me to leave? How convenient of you. His eyes narrowed, but his tone was light, practiced. Julian, he set his keys down with a clink. Where's Lucas? I let the silence stretch before I answered. He left. Jake blinked, then gave a little laugh, airy, dismissive. Of course he did. Taking responsibility isn't really his strong suit. I stood, bag strap biting into my shoulder. Don't do that. Do what? His brows lifted, mock confusion. Act like none of this has happened, like you haven't been stringing us both along for God knows how long. He tilted his head, smile tightening. Stringing along? Julian, I have no idea what you were talking about. You know I've been under so much stress at work. I don't expect you to understand, but don't. My voice cracked like a whip, sharper than I'd ever spoken to him before. Don't you dare talk to me like I'm some child who doesn't get it. For a flicker, his eyes hardened. Then he smoothed it over with that infuriating calm. You're upset, I get it, but honestly, you shouldn't take Lucas so seriously. He exaggerates, he always has. The gall of it, standing here, dismissing, twisting. My fists clenched. What a narcissistic prick. You didn't even deny it, I said. 7 months. 7 months you had me believing I was... My throat tightened. That I was special, that you actually wanted a life with me. His mouth curved in something that wasn't quite a smile. Special is such a loaded word, isn't it? You're unbelievable. And you're naive, he shot back, sharp now. You really think you're the first person who's ever wanted more for me than I could give? You wanted perfect. You wanted the fairy tale. That's not my fault, Julian. That's you. I almost staggered. The cruelty in his tone hit harder than the words. He wasn't even defensive. He was superior, standing above me like I was a child throwing a tantrum. Something inside me snapped. No, this isn't on me. I bent for you. I made excuses for you. I believed in you when I shouldn't have. And you. My voice trembled. You were just greedy. You wanted 2 people loving you at once because one was never enough. He smirked, hands slipping into his pockets. Maybe I just didn't want to choose. The silence between us was scorching. His arrogance, his calm cruelty. It made my skin crawl. I bent down, grabbed my tote bag, and slung it over my shoulder. Well, congratulations, you don't have to anymore. Jake stepped forward, almost like he thought he could stop me. Julian, I held up a hand, stopping him cold. Don't. You've already said enough. For a second, his face shifted. Maybe anger, maybe panic, maybe nothing at all. But then it smoothed back into that same detached superiority, like I was walking away from something replaceable. I opened the door, my bag digging into my shoulder, and looked back only once. His figure was framed by the soft morning light, tall, polished, utterly untouched by the wreckage he'd left behind. It made me hate him more than if he'd begged. Then I walked out. I didn't look back. Not once. The city was already awake, humming with cars and footsteps, people rushing to work, earbuds in, coffees in hand. The normalcy of it felt like an insult. Didn't they know the world had ended in an apartment just 3 stories up? Didn't they hear the sound of it cracking apart? Every step away was heavy, but it was mine. For the first time in months, maybe longer, I wasn't orbiting Jake. I was just me. When I got to my apartment, I dropped the tote bag by the couch and just stood there staring at my own space. The cracked mug on the counter, the half-finished laundry basket in the corner, the plant I kept forgetting to water. This was mine. No Jake here. No ghost of him in the way the sheets smelled. No polished surfaces hiding lies. Just me. I set my things down carefully, piece by piece, like reclaiming ground. The toothbrush went into my bathroom cup, the hoodie back in my closet, the sneakers by my own door, my notebook on the desk, the book on the nightstand, waiting. And then I sank onto the couch. My chest ached with the weight of it all. I kept replaying Jake's face. The smirk, the way he never denied anything, the way he called me naive like it was a punchline. Maybe I am naive, I thought. Maybe I wanted too much, too fast, too soon. But wasn't that the point of love? Wanting, believing, hoping someone meant it when they looked you in the eye and promised you things? The more I thought about it, the more I realized Jake never once gave me what I asked for. Not really. He gave me just enough to keep me wanting, just enough to keep me hanging on. And I had hung on with both hands, like a fool. Was something wrong with me? Was I too easy to fool? Too desperate to believe? The questions circled like vultures, pecking. But beneath the noise, a quieter truth was taking shape. No, there's nothing wrong with me. I just loved the wrong man. So I made my resolution as I stood, pulled the curtains wide open, and let the sunlight flood in. It hurt my eyes, but I welcomed it. I would end things, officially, cleanly. No late-night apologies, no second chances. Jake could keep his charm, his polished lies, his empty superiority. I wasn't going to be part of it anymore. I would heal. It would hurt. God, it already did, but I'd survive it. It had been a week since I walked out of Jake's apartment with nothing but a tote bag and a spine that finally belonged to me. A week of silence from him, which was almost a relief. No apologies, no excuses, no manipulations. The mornings were quieter now. Evenings, lonelier. But I was learning how to sit with both. That afternoon, I found myself at the park. My usual spot, a weathered bench overlooking the pond where kids threw breadcrumbs to ducks that didn't need them. The late sun stretched shadows across the grass, and I sat with my notebook balanced on my knee, pen tapping against the page. I wasn't writing anything, just being there. Hello, stranger. The voice slid in smooth as the breeze. I stiffened, slowly turned. Lucas. He was lowering himself onto the bench beside me, casual as if he'd been invited. Same messy hair, same unsettlingly calm eyes. The shirt wasn't Jake's this time, but he still carried the same magnetic pull, a crooked smile that made it impossible to guess what he wanted. My throat tightened. What are you doing here? Relax, I was just walking by and saw you, he said, leaning back, draping an arm across the bench's top rail. Then after some seconds, he added, Okay, I lied. This wasn't an accident. Jake mentioned once you loved this park. Dragged him here, actually, and he hated it. So, his grin sharpened. I thought I'd stroll by, see if Lady Luck was feeling generous, and look at that, she was. I stared at him, half annoyed, half something else I didn't want to name. So what do you want? My voice wasn't hostile, but it carried an edge. Lucas tilted his head. I left Jake for you. My chest lurched. For a second, I almost believed it until he snorted. Relax. I'm kidding, though I broke up with him the morning after. I blinked. The morning after? He nodded, eyes glinting. Yeah, walked out, never looked back. The realization hit slow, then hard. I'd left him that morning too. So, we both did it at the same time. Lucas smirked. Great minds. For a fleeting second, guilt pricked my chest for Jake, of all people. 2 breakups crashing down on him in the same day. But then I remembered his smirk, his half-denials, the way he made me feel small. Any sympathy burned out quick. Odds were, he had another secret tucked away somewhere already. Lucas broke the silence first. I'm moving on, ready to find love, real love this time. He glanced at me, his voice lighter. You kind of inspired me. My eyebrows rose. Me? Yeah, he said. You were all in. Naive, sure, but it made me jealous. You believed, and I want that for myself. His lips twitched into a mischievous smile. So I figured, maybe you could be my wingman. You and me, partner quest for true love. What do you say? I laughed once, sharp and disbelieving. You're insane. Maybe, he shrugged, but you're not walking away. I exhaled, pen still tapping against my notebook. And what if you're just hitting on me again? Lucas's grin softened, something quieter behind it this time. You're more my type than I care to admit, but hitting on you now, it'd be weird, so I'll settle for friendship, for now. I shook my head, scrunching my face. You're all shades of weird. True, he said brightly. So wingman? I sighed, eyes lifting toward the pond. Ducks flapped, kids laughed, the world went on. Yeah, whatever. Lucas clapped his hands once, triumphant. Excellent. I've got a list of bars. We'll hit them up one by one. I turned to him, incredulous. Bars? That's where you're planning to find true love? Hey, don't knock it till you've tried it. Sometimes disaster hides opportunity. His words hung between us, oddly comforting. I let myself lean back, shoulders loosening for the first time all week. Maybe he was right. Maybe disaster was just another word for beginning. I thought of Jake. his lies, his charm, his hollow promises, and felt the weight of him sliding off my chest. In its place, something unfamiliar but not unwelcome. Possibility. I didn't know if Lucas would ever stop being trouble. Probably not. But for now, sitting on that bench with him grinning beside me, it felt like trouble I could live with. From here on, maybe I'd let the stranger in my boyfriend's shirt, well, ex-boyfriend's shirt, take the lead. And for once, I was curious to see where it went. The end. Thanks for listening to the story, The Man in My Boyfriend's Shirt. If you enjoy the story, share your enthusiasm in the comments section, and don't forget to hit the subscribe and notification buttons so you don't miss any story uploads. See you in the next one.